Good morning. Welcome to the Jason J. Daniel store show. When you go live, I got all these things in my head. Welcome to my show. I'm not selling anything. It was subliminal. I have a really cool guy with me, Daniel Goodwyn. Daniel, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Right on. Daniel Goodwyn is he's a member of American history. He is a, a former J6 political prisoner. He was in the mix of it. He experienced being prosecuted by the Joe Biden regime, the crime family, and he's an activist. He's a motivational speaker, and he produces content and films talking about free speech and the J6 event because he was there, he lived it. Pardoned by Donald J. Trump. Daniel, am I missing anything on your bio?
It just depends on how long or short you want it. Sure.
Go for it, man. I'll check my sound and let people know if this is the first time they're seeing you, what your story's about.
Well, I mean, I think that's a pretty good synopsis.
Right on. Um, so, how are you doing? How have you been? It's you were pardoned earlier in the year after Trump was elected. You and your supporters, your group. I mean, I guess you can call them the J6 family. Have been really working hard to try to bring awareness, right, to people that just are misinformed about exactly what happened and the gross misjustice that you all went through. And I personally I was not seeking a lot of information on it last year, but I was starting to look into it, and my eyes were completely open to what you guys went through. So talk about the experience now that Donald Trump's been in office for almost a year. It seems like it seems like yesterday, and you guys are still advocating for the other. Usually, we're saying there are three political prisoners still being held unjustly and have not received their pardons. So talk about how you're doing and what you guys are doing on that front, just to catch everybody up.
Yeah, I love to be very specific about these things. There's three J6 hostages that are still in prison, and they actually did receive pardons.
Okay, my bad.
The
Sorry about that.
prosecution is saying that they agree with the defense that they should be released and that the pardons cover what happened with them, and yet they are held this way. There was a few more, but we're down to three now, and that especially applies to Dan Wilson. And the other two situations are slightly different. One of them got well, so he had some gun charges basically,
Okay.
which I can go into the specifics, but it's ridiculous. And it's fruit of the poisonous tree. Basically, they found the guns in the house. I don't know if they were even his. I think they were perhaps belonged to a relative, but they found them when they did the J6 raid, and they wouldn't have otherwise. And the reason that he's not supposed to have guns is because of a felony from his young life. So it's kind of bogus, but um, he's in prison because the judge. And the same with Ed Kelly had a trial and was convicted of allegedly trying to what's it called? Uh, there were some FBI agents that they said he. I'm blanking on the word. It's not accused, but what's the word you say when you're going to try to intimidate someone? They said that he was planning to.
Coercion, maybe
No, absolutely
collusion.
not.
You,
Like basically that they were accusing him that he was going to try to attempt to assassinate them or something like that. What's the word you use for that? I feel so embarrassed that I blanked out
oh,
on the
no
word for
worries.
that.
No, it's this is
Maybe I
this
should
is off
Google
the
it.
cuff. I Yeah, I like I would yeah, go ahead and yeah, because we want to be accurate. And by the way, everybody watching, because we're watching live, I am. There's so many complicated nuances to all of the different cases. Everything is really unique, so we want to be totally accurate. Oh, I think we lost you. What was that? Oh, you're freezing up a little bit. Is your we lost your audio. Take your time. While he's doing that, I'm going to, if you're jumping on live, I'm going to remind you this is the Jason J. Daniel Show. And you can follow me on X. If you're watching on X, we'd really appreciate a like and a repost. And also, I'll show you where you can find Daniel. Go ahead, Daniel, if you're there. Yeah, you know what? We lost your audio. How about this? How about I will disconnect and bring you back in? We'll do that. That might solve that problem. Let me. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So while he's doing that, I'm going to. He's going to jump back on. I'm going to ask a favor. Please subscribe and follow me on YouTube. If you're now we're live right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, we really appreciate that. I see you guys are watching. This is a really great conversation, so we're bringing him back in. So you definitely. So Daniel's coming back in. I can see him logged in, and he's gonna his audio and stuff will come back up. There we go. Yeah. There you go, my friend. Right on.
Can you hear me?
I can. You're perfect. Sometimes it happens. It's happened before,
Yeah.
and I learned that.
So the word
Back does it.
looking for is threatened. So they accused him of threatening the FBI.
Okay.
And I don't know whether that's even true that he did that or not. Because keep in mind, they accused us all of a bunch of ridiculous things. He, as far as I know, he claims that he's innocent. I don't think he can talk about the details because it's still being appealed. But he's got a life sentence, so he's in prison for life over this.
Wow.
And this is something that happened allegedly after J6, and the agents that they're accusing him of threatening are his J6 agents. So the prosecution and the defense both agree this is covered in the pardon. He should be freed, but he's stuck in there for a life sentence. So that's him. And then a third J6er in there is someone who, after J6, some girl basically accused him of rape or something after finding out that he's a J6er. So it's just fake and just because of J6. So everything is fake. Everything is because of J6, and these hostages need to be freed. And I don't think Trump even realizes that they're still locked up because of these different circumstances. So that's that. Now, the people who don't have pardons, they're actually out. They got commutation. So their sentences have been commuted. There's about 12 of them still seeking that pardon, and it will be important for them for other aspects of their life. And you can read about that in a Gateway Pundit article that came out recently. That
Yeah, you
Jen
can give me
Baker
that
had.
link. I'll add it to the show. Yeah, that would be great. Gateway Pundit is a great source, by the way, guys. Daniel, this is really important information. By the way, if I misspeak on any of the details, definitely correct me because, like I was saying, when you dropped for a second, there's so many nuances to everyone's cases. And also, I know that I should say J6 hostage instead of prisoner. So I know that is the right term. So apologies there. I have a lot of respect for everybody going through that, So what are you guys doing at the moment to try to bring awareness and to get those hostages free?
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're good.
No need to apologize. The term prisoner is totally accurate. The term hostage is just more specific. It's the kind of prisoner that we are. I would still consider myself a hostage, even though I'm not in prison right now. But, we're all still facing the consequences. Many J6ers are struggling to get by, financially. That includes me. But, other people have families to take care of. So I try to prioritize them above my situation. But one of the things I've been up to is trying to help get J6ers stories out there after J6 and their fundraisers promoted via Gateway Pundit, and Jen Baker's been assisting me in that.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk to you about that. Explain, you just touched on it. It's not over for all of these folks that have gone through all of this process, right? Not, their families were torn apart. There's all sorts of repercussions. The children who were experiencing this trauma from the raids for no reason, the FBI kicking, the DOJ kicking in doors, then obviously the financial bankrupting, all those things that you guys went through. Um, just try, if you can try to, for people that don't understand or people that aren't really thinking about what you guys are going through, it's never ending. It hasn't ended. Can you maybe explain what that feels like to have that, just to always have, lately having people hold that against you, or opportunities that you guys are still being denied?
Well, sure. There's different levels that this affects various J6ers and their families in. The Obviously the most long-lasting one being the people who died, and four people died on January 6th um, due to police actions, and then one of them died the next day from a stroke, who was a police officer. Since then there was another 4 or 5 officers who died of suspicious circumstances, being called suicides for the most part. And outside of that, probably over 10 J6ers have committed suicide, many of them leading up to a sentencing, and some from, after the fact. And also, people have had, medical issues, especially that weren't treated properly while they were in prison. And a few people have died from things like cancer and heart attack since then, potentially due to, you know, the added stress from this. But there's several people who still have the legal situations. Obviously, the 3 in prison, the 12 still needing a pardon. And really, I would say that about 1,600 of us should have really received a pardon of innocence like General Flynn received, rather than a regular pardon. And no one else has ever received one besides General Flynn, but he actually has made a statement that all J6ers should also receive that same pardon. And we agree with him, and we still want to push for that. There's no reason why Trump still couldn't go and do that, and then also include the last people that he only gave commutations for. But then on top of that, there's other people still facing legal issues, trying to get their rights to have their weapons back or returned, or property just seized from the FBI that they use for quote unquote evidence, but really they just stole it. And people have had a lot of trouble getting that back. Some people have gotten their back, some people still haven't. And some people are having issues with state issues. So one J6er is having basically trouble basically being on probation at a state level due to some J6 stuff. And then some other people, still having basically probation, even though they're already on the other side of J6. So there's a few exceptions that still have that lingering. But then, other than the legal issues and the death and health issues, the next obviously main big issue would be finances. And a lot of J6ers have not been able to get different jobs after J6, or have lost their old jobs. It's basically like cancel culture, and that's really really difficult, especially when you have added costs of being in prison, um, and a whole family to take care of, which a lot of J6ers do have their whole family to take care of. Oh, and then there is one other thing that I think is very notable. There's multiple J6ers who've actually gone through divorces because of this. And I don't know every situation. Who knows if there were other issues going on, but it's pretty terrible, for a family to be broken apart. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I don't think it
feel like
helped.
the public doesn't realize all these things going on still to this day with us. A few people have been able to, basically get back to normal and get back on their feet, but I would say almost everyone. We're just still struggling. And again, I don't think the president realizes that's the situation that we're in. Um, but we are moving forward with civil action, a lot of us. So we're going to see where those things land. So far, the only favorable things that have happened in that arena have been with Ashley Babbitt, and there was a $5 million settlement, I think, and that had to do with the husband, not the mother. So I don't know if there's anything that might still happen later, or if there's a statute of limitations thing or not. But we'll see if anything else happens with that. But then also, her military honors were restored, because that was a really pretty shameful thing that the government did to her. When she died, not giving her those that you normally would. So that's one step that's gone forward, and presumably there will be a memorial service or funeral of some type coming up, and her
Oh, for her?
is wanting to get that American flag that they typically put.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so
Wow, you said so many great things, and you actually touched on two things I was going to ask you. Three things. I just to segue. I watched the footage. By the way, you're the producer of J6: A True Timeline.
yeah,
It's yeah, it's an incredible movie. It's a documentary, all actual footage of police cams, camera phones, all sorts of media, a timeline of exactly what went down in a narration. There's the scene where Ashley was killed in there, and what I did not realize, because obviously the media covers all this shit up, was that when she was shot, there were 6 or 7 cops right there. They didn't do anything to try to help her. They didn't try to add any kind of medical assistance. Now, I don't know if she had died, the shot was fatal, but they didn't try to do anything, and she bled out. And the footage that is in that documentary is essentially uncut, right? You're seeing the entire moment from when she was shot to when she was taken out. I mean, it was most of that moment. So to hear that, what you're saying is heartwarming for me, because and I know that they won there was a lawsuit, which was good news. You were saying the husband got it, but the mom didn't. I'm a little lost on that. Do you have clarity
no,
on
I'm
that?
saying the husband is the one who took civil action.
Okay,
So there was a settlement. So that means he's not going to go and sue because he is done
he
suing.
settled. Got it. Okay, gotcha.
But if she wanted to sue, maybe she could. I'm not saying she is or isn't. I don't know anything about it. I'm just saying technicalities because people get curious about what's going on with things. So
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
what happened with her, and him.
Yeah. So you're mentioning the president. You're not sure if he's quite aware of everything you guys are going through. Can you elaborate on how the J6 family is feeling about how Trump's handling things, or how things have been going since the pardons?
Well, we feel like the job is unfinished, but since you talked about Ashley's death and my documentary, I want to give a little bit of detail about that. So
Yeah, let's do that.
we published about 5 documentaries between me and David at Stop Hate, and some of them the first one, it was just me and him writing history, and that came out 2021. So every year we've done another one, and we've done them with different people. So there were 5 people on the one that we did, J6 True Timeline, and it really it's the best documentary out there that shows what January 6th, the actual protest, was in terms of what actually happened, when and where, and in order. And so I recommend people watch it for that value. We did have the footage of Ashley Babbitt's death in our original film from like 5 angles, shown at the same time. So if you wanted more from a study angle, but you can also go straight to stophate.com/Ashley, and we've got all of the raw video files that you can go look at, and a montage, and it's a little bit more than you would see in any of the documentaries. So if you're specifically interested in that situation, you could look into that. And I don't know whether I'm supposed to mention it before or not, but we are working on another video about that we're going to probably put out sometime soon.
That's awesome. Definitely. When you guys are ready, please come back on. I want to specifically, talk about it. Yeah, that video, everybody should watch it, even if they don't like you guys, even if they believe the lie, right? Because a lot of people are still poisoned by that lie of what happened on that day. I think everybody should do themselves a favor, if they care enough, to watch, at least a true timeline. It's incredible. The footage of the officers and the police and the law enforcement, all their bumbling and their foolishness and their nastiness and the things they did to agitate things, and the conversations that were, it's just, I was like, wow. There was even a moment where they looked at each other and said, we got set up. We were set up. And there's conversations where law enforcement are talking about they were set up and put in that situation so this would turn into a thing. And then there's moments where, and then the one guy Epps and all these, there's certain like agitators and people that clearly were working for the feds at the time. You see them doing, it's just, it's wild stuff. So it's brilliant. It was brilliant. So highly recommended. I just wanted to share that. But
Yeah, that.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no, it was it. I got to like. In fact, I watched it again last night, and I like was like, wow. I was like really waiting to talk to you about it, just to tell you how good it is and how well done it is. I've been there at the Capitol. I've been in all that area. I haven't been inside the Capitol, but when I was there, it was closed. It was after J6. So I got a I've been all over, right? And I have, so when you've been there, you get a real feeling of perspective of these little areas and like how it was smaller than it looked on TV and how easy things could have happened. And then you noticed that a lot of agitators were wearing masks who were not arrested, right? You know, like people that you couldn't wearing black doing certain things. So I mean, and obviously a lot of people have talked about this for years, you know, since it went down, but and you lived it. And by the way, people need to know you just walked in and like was like 30 seconds and walked out.
Yeah,
And
around.
that's what you got hit for. And they were looking at 20 years, right? And that yeah, it was
Yeah,
crazy. Trying to give you 20 years, and it turned into you know, you were able to you know, resolve it, but you still had you did spend time incarcerated. They took away your civil rights. It was wild, man. What they put you guys through. So back to the president. I'm just interested. What's the general feeling from the J6 family about how Donald Trump's doing?
well, I think generally we feel like he hasn't finished the job, and like I said, so I think I don't know if I can speak for everyone in this, but I feel like probably they think that he doesn't realize. You know, he probably thinks, "Oh, you know, I did the pardons, they're back to normal now," and probably thinks if there's any other issues, his staff is probably dealing with it, and he probably doesn't have to worry about it anymore. And we all feel like there's gatekeepers around him that protect him from the information that he needs to know to be able to properly govern. So, um, you know, David Summerall and a few other people went to the White House on September 11th to, you know, try to get his attention. And I think the intention is that there will be people at the White House every week to try to get the president's attention, because we try through our Congress, we try through, you know, phone, through letter, through social media campaigns, through trying to get news out there, documentaries, articles. We do everything we can, but it still doesn't seem to get through to him. And in the meantime, like I said, we've got civil actions pending. And the DOJ has actually been opposing some of those with motions, like a motion to dismiss, I think, against the Proud Boys, for example, who are trying to sue the government for what happened to them, especially the five who were charged with and convicted of seditious conspiracy, which is completely bogus.
Right. So I was going to ask, what are the lobbying efforts? You answer that question right on. So every week somebody's going to try to, you know, you guys have representatives that are going to try to draw awareness. I'm going to look into it myself. I'm going to reach out to my local elected representatives and see what we can do. I'm going to try to interview them and see, because there's we've moved past it. We as I guess a nation, we think we have, but you guys haven't, right? And you guys are living it every day.
That's it.
Yeah. So why do you think people feel it's okay to cancel culture J6ers? Why do you think people are still feeling like that's okay to discriminate? I think it's just so disgusting.
You want me to get into the mind of a liberal?
Well, I mean, okay. Well, look, well, okay. Well, you might be one of the best people who can do that. You've dealt with the nastiest, meanest thing that they could do. They tried to take your life and put you in prison for 20 years.
It's really hard to understand. I mean, I think the deep state doing this to us was very calculated, was very politically driven and biased, and I think it was demonic. I think it was straight from Satan. These people are evil, and they
Yeah.
have evil plans. I think your typical liberal who's participating in cancel culture they're mindless drones. They don't have reasons. You can't ask them why. They don't know. They don't know anything. They're just retarded. So I don't know what to say. Some of them are evil and some of them are stupid. I wish it weren't so. You try to reason with them, you can't reason with them. They're just going to try and shoot you. They're going to laugh when you die. They're evil. They hate us.
100%, man. Like there's no greater truth than everything you just said. Obviously, Charlie Kirk is the example of what you guys and what we have been saying for a very long time. That if the liberal lunatic anarchists get their way, they will kill conservative voices. They'll just take them out because they can't beat them in the marketplace of ideals.
Absolutely. And we've received plenty of death threats.
Oh yeah.
So it's you never know when they're going to actually go and fulfill on it.
You're a free speech advocate like I. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
How do you protect yourself against a sniper? You're going to look at the top of every building at all times? You can't. It's impossible. So you could pay millions of dollars for security and it's never going to help you. So
true, man. What you just said is what we saw last week.
yeah,
I
because
mean,
I hear people are like, "Oh, you should get a gun." I'm like, "Okay, and then what?" Look
yeah,
at every rooftop at all times to make sure there's not a deranged transgendered Antifa trying to shoot and kill me, and then laugh about it, and every Democrat laugh about it while they're publicly laughing about it on their social media and on news stations and media and comedy shows.
it's like you're right. They're like demons. They're gyrating over it. They're writing songs. They're dancing. They're doing witchcraft. They're celebrating. It's just it's unbelievable. It is the sickest thing I have seen in such a long time. But I think it is kind of a retaliation in a lot of ways, just this whole hate that comes from these people, from the fact that folks like you did overcome and you are overcoming. I mean, you're not stopping. You're not being defeated by what they tried to do. Speaking of Charlie Kirk, let's talk about that. What's your reaction? How were you affected by that?
Well, my first reaction is maybe a little selfish. I'm thinking, if they're gonna shoot and kill a moderate like him, what are they gonna do with people like me who have more right wing views? I think it's just thankfully that I'm not as famous as him. I would have easily been the target, or any of the people that are, J6ers. We've done more extreme things than Charlie has. We have more extreme beliefs than Charlie has, and that level of hatred they have, and we've had worse lies about us than he has. They call him a Nazi. They call us Nazis too, but they also call us murderers and they call us pedophiles and this and that, and they really do have a much greater level of hate, and we're also pretty targeted by not only these online groups called the sedition hunters and things like that, but these local chapters of Antifa, which finally Trump has designated as a terror organization. He promised he would do that like 10 years ago.
Better late than never, right?
Well, now that someone died, if he had done that when he said he would, Charlie would be alive right now. So, I'm thankful that Trump has come through on it now. I'm thankful that Trump has come through on the pardons for us, -12. But it's like he's taking too long and he's not doing it all the way. And it's, at the same time, it's better than any other president we've ever had. But
Yeah.
it's just not enough. We can't live like this. The Democrats, they just go and go and go and push and push and push, and the uniparty and the deep state and all the Antifa and the trans and all these people, they push and push and push, and they're taking over our country and driving us into communism, and we're getting imprisoned and we're getting killed. And then he's like, doing these things in half measures. It's like, it's not going to cut it. We need more.
Yeah, and I think that this is a really healthy conversation because, by the way, I just switched parties yesterday. I'm Republican now, so
Okay.
I was independent and now I switched. In fact, I accidentally checkmarked. I was out of the country or something, and they called me this morning, and they're like, "Hey, we know you didn't do this right. We're gonna fix you." Like they were cool. Like I was really impressed with how they audited and made sure that my party was changed. So shout out to that wonderful lady who called me this morning. But The difference between us, I mean, there's a lot of difference between conservatives and these lunatics, is we will criticize and we will be honest about how we feel about Trump and things going on. Nobody's perfect, but we'll hold each other accountable. That is real. They don't. They love to
Right.
build lie on lie and get people hurt. And it's the truth. We're not speaking something that's not fucking
Yeah.
true. Like, this happened in front of all of our eyes. And yeah, you guys have targets. You're being economically attacked. You're being physically attacked in some cases, legally attacked all the time. You're being canceled. Speaking of you, in your situation, I don't think it's selfish to go, well, hell, if they're going to do that to him, what about me? Because I think a lot of people went through that. Like, everybody that has a voice, that has a podcast, that's conservative, when they were responding to it, that's what I saw, is everybody's just feeling this is a real fear that anybody can be targeted by any lunatic anywhere. So, do you
Well, it's
personally feel
exactly the
your
same.
safety? I was going to ask you, how do you feel about your safety? Are you taking measures? How are you feeling?
Well, there's no way to take measures against a sniper, like I discussed earlier. But it's exactly the same as J6. Um, this is meant to be a chilling of the First Amendment. It's meant to scare us into not saying what we think, not saying what we believe, not gathering. And that did happen after J6, and it's happening again. But, at the same time, you have some people who have the opposite reaction, and they're like, okay, well, now I actually have more resolve. You've actually radicalized me more. Now I want, more conservative values, more Christian values, more liberty. And, and I don't know though, because is it a wash when you have some people then being intimidated out of it and some people being, encouraged to do more of it? Do you just come out basically the same? I don't know. We're going to have to wait, and time will tell. But it's like a MLK moment to me. Charlie Kirk assassination. He's basically a civil rights leader being shot, and we don't know. Is it just an insane transgender Antifa that was radicalized by mainstream media garbage that's just brainless, or is it some conspiracy with some deep state operation? It could be a little bit of both. I tend to think it probably was what it looks like, and that it's a little bit of both, because he was probably in these Discord servers, and who knows what kind of feds were in there planting what kind of ideas and MK Ultra mind control stuff. Like, sounds radical, but like, we know this stuff is true and we've seen it happen. And so, but I don't know what's going to happen. We're just gonna have to wait and see, because in the moment it seems like the biggest thing ever. But you'll have more clarity as time goes on.
That's a great point. It's a really great perspective, because you have fought the deep state. You're still fighting the deep state. People don't get it. It's real. It's real. The deep state is very real.
Yeah, and I've brought up most of the ways in which it has been happening, but the other side of it is, not just legal and financial. It's the big tech companies, social media, and it includes like financial services. But I've been banned from like 12 different platforms. So that goes from, obviously the big ones: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, um, all those types of things, banned and censored on all these things like YouTube, but even like a dating app, and Lyft, and Stripe, a back end payment processor, and
Wow.
yeah, just LinkedIn, like everything. They really go wild. And it's not just being banned and censored, because they also have these very sly tactics of shadow banning,
Mhm.
which is something that was uncovered in undercover video by Project Veritas back in the day, when they overheard a Twitter engineer talking about it. But then also an insider leaked from Facebook to Project Veritas a few years ago that, there's a they had written a white paper or something internally called, I forget what it's called, but it was about something that they call, the troll twilight zone. And uh, it's basically to gaslight you, and it's similar to the shadow banning, and they also have something called deboosting, right? So they will make your stuff not show up in the feeds for other people as much as others, without telling you and without you knowing that it's happening or why. And then they'll try to like get your friends to they'll like send messages to your friends that say like, oh, this friend may or may not be they might be getting radicalized. You might need a, it's kind of like a Chinese social credit score dystopia. But
Wow.
these are the type of things that are happening within Facebook and Twitter, and it's still happening on Twitter. Our J6 True Timeline movie actually to this day was posted on our official account, and after getting 2 million views, they added a thing that makes it say it has a sensitive warning on it, even though it doesn't. And when you have that box checked, it still doesn't show up. And then if you copy and send the link of the post to another person to try to look at it, if you're not logged in, it says that the post doesn't exist. Then you go log in. If you're already following it, you see that it does exist. So it's this kind of shadow banning technique that's still happening, even with Elon Musk. And me personally, my Twitter account has gotten banned after Elon Musk uh, took over Twitter, and I still haven't gotten it back. And I've been using
Yeah,
an
I tried to
alternative.
find you this morning and it's gone. Yeah.
So it's gone. So the Twitter account Daniel Goodwyn is gone. Now I have Daniel L Goodwyn with my middle initial L there added in. So it's
Yeah,
two
your
L's in a
first
row
one,
again.
yeah, is gone.
That one's in there now, and I would love to have my old one back with all my contents and all my contacts and all my content. There's a lot of valuable information in there, and I still didn't get my original Facebook back. I made a new Facebook. I made a new Instagram, and I got banned on TikTok. Like I said, there's like at least 12 different things, and people don't realize there's this the outright bans, and then there's the insidious shadow banning and gaslighting that these big tech companies do, and that the government was involved in a lot of that at different times. So some of it you don't even know. Some of it you know that it happens, and you don't know what they've done with you specifically.
Yeah, I read the Twitter papers. They were specifically doing it to you guys on purpose by orders of the Biden administration. It's just
Yeah.
it's I mean, they're crying about the Jimmy Kimmel thing, which is a whole nother conversation of how commerce works and misinformation. Jimmy Kimmel's said an outright lie, and so he got the repercussions from that. But that's nothing compared to what you guys went through. And if people are not believing what you're saying, I'll just say this. I pay for the Max X package, right? If you don't pay for that, you get no visibility. You pay for that, you get thousands of views. So just right there, that shows you that they can do that with a financial incentive. What other ways are they doing it we don't know about? It's very true because it's night versus day. Um, but you guys are still fighting to get your truth out there, which is wonderful. And this is eye opening. I'm really glad. Our last interview was great, but we didn't really get a chance to get in this kind of detail, which is really eye opening. And things have changed so much. I'm speaking of free speech and conversations along those lines. Let's talk about the film fest and the gear you're wearing. I think that's some cool stuff. You're just involved in, was it a film festival with 4 films you were in or producing? It's on your Instagram. There's more details. Talk about that. That was really intriguing to me.
Yeah, so I think I had 4 of my films in the first one, which was last year, and then this year we had one more, which was our latest one that hadn't come out yet. So I think 5 total in the 1A Film Fest. So people can go to 1afilmfest.com and purchase the $25 digital package, and you'll be able to see both the last year and this year's. I think we're going to be putting up this year's content as soon as we finish packaging it together, and you can already watch the content from last year's.
Is it a digital? You can digitally download them?
It will be like probably digital live stream type thing.
Okay.
You pay for it and then you watch it in there. Yeah.
So it's an actual like live streaming festival.
Well, yeah. Of course, there was an in person festival that already took place, but you'll be able to. You can buy right now the package to be able to watch it digitally online. So.
So talk about the content of the movies and what the spirit of the festival is and what people would expect because I'm interested.
Yeah, well, 1A is like it sounds. It's the First Amendment. So we're big on the First Amendment. It's very patriotic. And of course, just because of the time we're in, a lot of the focus has been on January 6th. So obviously our 5 films have all been J6 related. And there've been a few other J6 related films too, also censorship related, or border and trafficking related, or the Hollywood occult scene and all that. So there's a lot of those topics that are in there. So it's very, it's kind of like a one-stop shop for all your red pills you need right now for what's been going on in the world.
Boy, do we need them. We need this country needs it, man. Just even a touch of that could be part of the antidote of this just lunacy. It's. I know you feel were probably here before I was, but I feel like okay after the assassination, the brutal killing of Charlie Kirk, I was just like this. We have to all stand up and say the country is now showing all the signs of a communist regime and a fascist regime taking over through these insidious bad actors, right, that are agitating, and in all the different Antifa, I guess the Antifa, I guess you'd call them their little departments, right?
I would
And
call them carousels personally.
what do you call you? Oh, terrorists. That's right. And Trump just designated them a terrorist group. They have all the signs of it. We've known it. In fact, they've been funded by straight up people that fund terrorism. And the fact that we have been brainwashed as a society that that's normalized. Oh, Antifa's out there breaking shit, hurting people, normalized. The media makes them heroes when they're just demons. It's crazy. So Antifa's always going to interrupt your stuff, and you guys just tried to do. By the way, the film festival really cool. I'm going to dig more into it myself, and I'll reach out to you on that because it's awesome. Guys, go check that out on his Instagram. I have your Make America Stop Hate Instagram handle, but your personal handle on Instagram does have information on the, and also they can go to the film fest on your swag. I totally lost where I was going.
All right, well, I got something to say. I
Right.
think it's notable that there was actually a Charlie Kirk tweet from May 30, 2020 that said, retweet if President Trump should classify Antifa as a domestic terror organization. And then the very next day, there was a tweet by Trump, and it was May 31, 2020. The United States of America will be designating Antifa as a terrorist organization. And then, he didn't do it. And then Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and now he came out and did it. Or is he saying he's doing it? Well, maybe it's the same as last time that he's saying he's going to do it. I mean, I don't know what kind of, does it need to be an executive order written on the White House website? But I don't know. But I think he's already directing people, and I think they're actually taking it seriously and taking action this time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the State Department does some official stuff with that, but I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I forgot we were talking about Antifa. Sorry, I had so many things in my head. Yeah, no, it's been years in the making. We all know that we know it's right. We know it's right. In fact, the media. It's what's interesting is the media today is not really worried about that. They're worried more about Jimmy Kimmel and all that foolishness. But the real truth of Antifa and that they are terrorists in our homeland, that's now becoming really obvious to a lot of people. Which too bad that they're late to the party. But unfortunately, it took Charlie Kirk's death, I guess, to wake everybody up. And the president was late on that. Who knows why? That's you're right. It would have stopped a lot of damage and a lot of brainwashing and misinformation. Obviously, Charlie Kirk would be alive, which is such a tragedy. So Antifa's trying to shut you guys down all the time. I know you do motivational speaking. Talk about you're trying to, you're in the Bay, you're in the Bay Area. You're a nightmare for the liberals, which we love that. But they keep trying to shut you guys down from free speech and from just having an assembly that is constitutionally protected. Talk about what you've been going through with Monterey County. It's been in the media. They keep shutting you guys down and not letting you speak out.
Yeah, so recently we had someone from Monterey County, one of the Republican groups, reach out and say, we would like to honor the J6ers now that they've been pardoned. Do you have a few that would like to come and speak? So we organized it. I found a few J6ers who wanted to come and speak, and they facilitated it. And they put out their, as you do, you put out an announcement. This is our event. Here's the link. You can buy tickets. And as soon as it's out there, the left wing, I call them Antifa journalists, but just journalists, activists on the left, they they go to get the thing canceled by they make a news story about it. Oh, you know, people who are did such terrible things on that day are going and giving a speech, and we can't allow this to happen in our town. And then they mobilize and start calling and the venue and get it canceled. So they did that 5 times in a row for that same event, the same date. We went through 5 different venue cancellations, and then we finally went to the last venue. We still did it. Thankfully, this was a very strong-willed leader and conservative group there. And we went there, and then they showed up and protested outside and were intimidating the old ladies trying to walk in just to come see this event and have a little, celebration for us. So that's what happened in this recent time. But this goes back to like, for me, like 2018, 2019. I actually was putting up free speech posters outside the Twitter building when people were getting censored, like Alex Jones and Milo Yiannopoulos and Gavin McInnes and Laura Loomer. And I didn't even really know who these people were. I was like, who are these people? It's kind of a Streisand effect thing. People can look that up if you don't know what it means. So I was like, uh, I guess I need to see why these people are trying to be censored in a coordinated fashion across all big tech social media platforms. And I started doing this activism and putting these posters up against they were like wanted for free speech or something like that, and they put their face on it.
Was it like an old west kind of thing, like a
Old West
wanted?
vibe, yeah, but just a modern twist. And I would put those outside the Twitter building, and these angry liberals would always be tearing them down. And I'd go back and put them up again, and maybe the security guard would take it down, or some Twitter staff or somebody would take it down. Well, one day I go up and I'm putting it up, and this guy sees me doing it, comes to confront me. Turns out it was a Twitter employee, engineer, coder, who actually is a member of Antifa as well, Antifa. So I had this guy, he comes and he attacks me, knocks me to the ground. Police see it happen, and they come and try to break it up. I was not even defending myself in that situation. I was just getting attacked. And so they give us tickets, and I go to the, Hall of Justice, and they say, "Oh, we're dropping these. You should be glad." I'm like, "This wasn't mutual combat. I was the victim here. Why would I be glad that you're dropping charges against the guy who attacked me?" They're like, "No, there's no one you can talk to. There's nothing you can do. I have the police report, and that's it." So that happened to me back then, and we had our free speech rallies, demand free speech, which we did, one in San Francisco, one in Washington, D.C., one in Miami. Antifa was getting attacking us and getting those shut down every single time. We also did a team free speech rally with one person who was at the other demand free speech rallies, named Philip Anderson, who's also a J6er, and he happened to be there when one of the police officers killed one of the other J6ers, Roseanne Boylan. I think, if I remember the story correctly, I think he was actually holding her hand when she died. But anyways, he came to San Francisco, and me and him co-organized a rally, and the Antifa came for that one. They actually punched him in the face and knocked his tooth out with a tactical glove, an Antifa BLM guy. The police were there like an army of police. They stood and watched it happen and did nothing. So people get very intimidated because of what happens like this. And even before my time, there was like what they call the Battle of Berkeley, and there was some campus stuff going on with Milo Yiannopoulos, maybe, or Ben Shapiro, I think, and Coulter, maybe, and the Proud
That's
Boys
right.
would go and defend the conservatives, and the Antifa would come and beat them up. They would get beat up, obviously, because they're weak, but they would be attacking and throwing weapons, and the police would do nothing. So we have that history here in this area, but also, like I said, Washington, D.C. Even in Miami, they did the same thing with canceling the venues. Same thing in D.C., canceling the venues for free speech things, and then they show up and they yell and they intimidate. They were threatening acid attacks at our Washington, D.C. free speech event, to which we told the FBI. I told the FBI when Antifa was threatening on Twitter to attack me, from, take me out like a sniper or something. And I think when I did that first time back in the free speech movement days, I think they put me on a list, and the FBI decided to target me instead of to go after the Antifa that was threatening me. I think they had a file on me ever since then up to J6, because I was arrested in that first month after the Capitol event on January 6th in 2021.
Yeah, you were one of the first ones that they went after.
Same month, yeah.
That is wild. I am in Northern California, but I know the Bay Area really well. And I exactly am tracking with you everything you were saying. It's so completely vicious and it's palpable. And in certain parts of the Bay Area, then the hate towards conservatives or anybody that's MAGA supports the president. And even before that, way before he was even elected. So why? Obviously, it's your home, but I have a deeper question. Why are you still staying and fighting and doing things in that in your region now, even though it's so difficult and there's so many nasty forces? What gives you the strength to continue to work in that area in that region?
Well, I just believe it's the right thing to do, so I'm going to do it anyways. I believe I'm called to do it. So if I weren't to do it, I would feel like Jonah getting swallowed up by a fish, gets sent back here anyways. But rather just not have to go through the trouble of that. But I feel like if all the wackos are doing the stuff here in this area, and the normal people just get intimidated and leave, the place is just going to get more wild. And if normal people stay here and don't get silenced and actually try to be an influence in the community and make roots, then there could be a hope for the region. So I'm just doing my part. I hope other people do it too, and leaving it up to God. We'll see what happens.
That's inspiring. Now, do you have any local politicians out there that support you, or that you have that either on either side of the aisle that you feel like is open minded to what's going on to stifle your free speech rights and like all the intimidation, the Antifa, the cancel culture you guys are going through?
By politician, do you mean like elected officials?
Yeah, elected official and anyone in public office.
There's basically a super majority of Democrats here, so
Yeah.
they're all hateful, brainwashed, and demonic. But there's one supervisor in San Francisco who actually um, called me a terrorist in the newspaper here. So
Jackie,
not
yeah.
not
We I still have to do some stuff on her, so my apologies. It's been crazy, but I don't know if I invite her on the podcast, but I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do a podcast on her. People need to know, what's going on with people like that are really insignificant humans, and then they get into these positions and they just start terrorizing people and making choices that are so destructive.
really, it puts me in harm because these
Mhm.
people that are left wing deranged people that believe anything their left wing leaders tell them, and then they'll take action. So I don't know if some Antifa is going to come shoot me because they think I'm really an actual terrorist, an actual threat, when I'm just a normal guy.
So true. It's that is a reality. So, definitely stay safe, by the way, my heart goes out to you, and that's a difficult thing, to deal with. So yeah, Jackie has said really terrible things about you and lies that have been propagated on social media. She even tweeted something, and I held her accountable. She didn't respond to it, but yeah, it was just disgusting. So two last questions. This has been great, by the way. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it, and I wanted people to get a chance to really have kind of a talk with you, like I am, right? And watch our talk. What would people not really realize about someone like you that's a patriot who's just trying to really support conservative values, support the president, support your family, support your friends, the J6 family? What's a misconception? People that don't know you guys that want to villainize you guys, what should they know about you guys and you especially?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think I would just rehash everything that we just talked about because it's a lot. But my values are that I'm pro-life, pro-free speech, things like that. I want election integrity. I don't want elections to just be stolen like they were.
Yeah, and that is who you are. Your principles, and I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like your principles are your life. It has become who you are, and your career is obviously part of sharing that truth, which is a very valid thing to do. And people don't get it. It's so hard in the Bay Area. It's no joke.
they will attack you on the streets for just wearing a MAGA hat or even looking conservative. If you don't look like you're dressing the part, if you're going to some sort of a political event and you are not protesting with Antifa, they're going to attack you. They will intimidate just average people that are just trying to learn the truth. You
Yeah, absolutely.
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, not to be nitpicking, but you've used this term "your truth" a few times. I don't believe in a "your truth." I mean, I have my perspective, but there's just the truth, and like the liberals try to make it seem like each person has their own truth, and truth can be whatever it is, but it's not. It's like what happened is what happened, and so I've been really trying to fight to bring the truth out about pro-life, about pro-free speech, about January 6th, whatever it is. I just want the truth out there. And Jesus said that I am the way, the truth, so he is the truth and God is love. So yeah, I definitely, my values come from my faith. And, I think that the values of this country come from that. And that the way they wrote it, the way they talked about it was they said the order is priorities of life, liberty, and property. It's basically in that order, because if you flip the order around between um, property and liberty, you end up having slaves. If you flip around between life and liberty, then you end up having abortion, and it's unnatural. So it's a very logical thing to just say that the priorities are life, liberty, and property.
I agree. It's not nitpicky. That's a fair thing for you to say. The way um, when I say your truth to most people, I more say what you went through, your experience, your perspective, right?
Right.
Which aligns with what you went through. Yeah, I totally understand. Yeah, where you're coming from, and yes, that is an overused phrase. What is your truth? And truth is not subjective. Or, I'm sorry, it's not objective. It is subjective, right? It's
No, yeah, truth is
reality what happened. Yeah. So I don't think people understand what you went through until they hear it from you. So yeah,
right.
no, totally, that's fair, and that's a really good point. So the last question I had was about spirituality and Christianity. You've mentioned Jesus and you've actually quoted scripture on this, which is awesome. One of the things that really stood out to me and affected me is the demonic activity coming out of the people that were celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. Um, it was I've seen you and I have. I mean, I've lived a little, right, and I've been fighting for um, conservative rights myself for a very long time. I used to have a podcast before I did this one, and I also had a blog and all these things. And I was in Northern California, really working in local government, and I'd seen a lot of nutty stuff and a lot of misappropriating celebrations for the wrong reasons, right? Liberals getting excited about bad things happening. But I've never seen this celebration of murder and death on a level I think of most people are really shocked. And then it just kept going and more people just kept doing it, right? Do you I felt like it was a real like these people have opened up a portal to some demonic entity. I'm now starting to really open up to go like there's something to this because they're saying they're witches, they were cursing him, they were trying to take credit for it, all that stuff. Talk about that. Do you really feel like this is demonic activity in these people as well, or what's the spiritual? You're a Christian, I'm assuming, and it's also on you're a Christian. How do you feel as a Christian with that level of demonic like activity rising up out of that? How do you see this?
Well, it says in Ephesians that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but we wrestle against the principalities in cosmic places. So, I think that everything really is a spiritual battle. It also says in 1 John 5:19 that we know that we are from God and the whole world lies in the power of the evil one. So when people see something like the Epstein stuff and they say, oh, that couldn't be true, that would be in the news, now everyone knows, but back then they were thinking that's so wild. Well, a lot of this stuff, it's not in the news because the news is in on it, right? Like you had Amy Robach. This was another thing. Project Veritas caught her on a hot mic saying, we had everything on Epstein and we sat on it for 3 years because we didn't want to offend the royal family, because Prince Andrew was involved.
Yeah.
So yeah, the news is in on it too. The whole world is in on it. All the powerful people, uh, all the rich people, and there's also scripture about the love of money leads to all kinds of evil. So the evil, the blackmail, all that stuff is top down. And when you have a culture of abortion since 1973, the one person who should be having the most role of a protector over someone would be a mother to her unborn, vulnerable, voiceless baby. If that person is then murdering them and you have a whole genocide of people doing that, what does that do to their psyche and to the psyche of everyone supporting that? Those people, they become numb to death. They become numb to life, truth, reality, nature, and all that bloodshed feeds into the demonic realm. So I definitely think that these people who have an ideology of death, a lifestyle of death, celebrating death, show your abortion, all these people, of course, this is what's going to happen. Of course, it's demonic. It's a spiritual battle. The devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Of course, that's what's happening. Absolutely, 100%. And some people do it knowingly. There's people who identify as Satanists. There's the Temple of Satan. There's the Church of Satan. And there's people who are just in the cabal, whatever it may be, if it's the Freemasons, the Illuminati, whatever secret societies there are. And obviously, the higher you go up, the more knowing you are. Some people, they're in the lower levels, they don't really know. And some people, they think they're atheists, they think they're agnostic. But God doesn't believe in atheists. Anyone who says they don't believe in God, they know that there's a God, and they suppress that knowledge. It says that in Romans chapter 1. So people may think they're not a Satanist, but they're doing evil things and acting evil ways and saying evil things with no shame. You're a child of the devil. That's what the Bible says.
100%. You mentioned a blood sacrifice. I also saw that too. People saying Charlie Kirk was the blood sacrifice.
Yeah, they're evil.
It's evil, and we have to confront that. And you, my friend, have been in the thick of it. And hats off to you, man. And you're a patriot. I appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun, man. And but it's a very serious situation. The country is in a serious moment. That's why I'm increasing my efforts to get the truth out, the truth, the real stories, and talking to patriots like you. So, Daniel, before we wrap, is there anything you want to share with the people watching you? I appreciate this.
Yeah, I could add a little bit of nuance on two things. One is when you talk about these extremists on the left that are satanic and evil, have these evil thoughts, words, and actions, it's a disproportionate amount. It's like probably about half of left-wing people are Democrats. And they are a true enemy and a true danger to society. These people who are so radicalized that they would act on these things should have already been institutionalized. These people should not be out in society walking around. Having said that, there are the other maybe less than half on the left who are able to be reasoned with. And obviously, we still need to make a good faith attempt to reason with people like Charlie Kirk used to do. I think that would honor his legacy, that we shouldn't just demonize the entire left as demonic. But we should just be, we should not be ignorant to the fact that it is probably about half or more than half that really will not be reasoned with. So, you got to figure out which ones you're not wasting your time with. And then secondly, obviously any action taken, if it's, for justice and that type of thing, needs to be obviously by the rightful authorities. And it's a problem with, the libertarian strain of the right-wing parties and people that we don't want to do anything that might be perceived as authoritarian. Well, if people are evil people doing evil things, action should be taken against them, and that's what it says in Romans 13. So in terms of ways people can help J6ers, obviously go to stophate.com/J6, and that's where you can find the link to the documentaries, the link to the fundraisers, things like that. We used to have people send mail to the prisoners. Now there's only 3 left. If you want to find those addresses for those 3, you can go to j6patriotnews.com, j6patriotnews.com. There is a page on there called J6 Hostages. and that has Dan Wilson, Edward Kelly, and the other guy's name is like Dylan Harrington or something like that, I think. And then, of course, there's pardonthe14.com, pardonthe14.com, to pardon the commuted J6ers who falsely accused of sedition. Of course, the number's changing. I think one of them already got a pardon since then, and maybe one or two maybe don't need one or don't want one, but of course the others still do. So those are the things I would say. Follow me on my socials on Daniel Goodwyn, danielgoodwyn.com, and stophate.com. And thank you very much.
I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you for getting everybody that information where they can get more knowledge and also follow you. And I'll piggyback on what you said. Yeah, it's not all liberal, left-wing liberals are at that level. Yes, you're right. About half can be reasoned with a good portion, but their silence is a concern. They need to be rallied to say no to this demonic worship of murder and death, going back to abortion and these kind of things. You're right. All these doors we've opened in our country to normalizing murder has now brought us to this point to where everyone is just feeling the experience of what it's like to have an assassination of an innocent person. So,
yeah, and not to drag it on too much more, but people accuse the right of now just taking on the same cancel culture that they were against and being hypocritical. It's like, no, those people wanted us canceled because we believed in right-wing traditional Christian values. They want us canceled. We want them canceled because they want someone dead. Like they're trying to incite violence. Like, oh, free speech is free speech no matter what. Well, the First Amendment never really did protect like incitement to violence, actually. And people want to talk about, well, we should have a hate speech law. No, I don't think we should have a hate speech law. But incitement to violence, that's already not protected. So we're still being consistent with the values we've always had. So
100%.
Even people on the right who are saying that right now because they're just so worried, it's like, no, you know what? Oh, the left is going to use this against us. No, the left has used this against us already. We need to use the power that we rightfully should have. And
they've twisted free speech, used it to cancel, used just for anything that they wanted to anything where they could further their agenda. You're 100% right. It's now the tables have turned, and there is yes, the courts have upheld everything you're saying, that there is a distinction. There's a distinction. All right, sir. Well, I'm going to let you go. You have a lot of good work to do in the community, and God bless you. Please stay safe. And thanks for your time, man. And have a good one. Thank you. And guys, thanks for watching the show.
God bless.
God bless you guys. Bye now.